Now that I'm working on this movie about the Crusades, one thing I've been thinking about is costume and, getting historically accurate costumes for the production. So I've been reaching out to various experts that I know, and I was talking with a friend of mine, a guy I've gotten to know through Real Crusades history over the years. A very knowledgeable guy. His name is Sam, and he works with the Little Dunmow Company. So he's an historical reenactor. So he, recreates medieval weaponry, scenes of battle, this kind of thing. Mainly like around the 11th, 12th century, that sort of era. And we were talking about pants and the fact that this is something that is often portrayed incorrectly in TV shows, movies that are set during the Middle Ages, as they will show people wearing what appear to be modern type trousers. One example that Sam and I were laughing about was in Kingdom of Heaven. There are these scenes where Orlando Bloom, as Balin of Imoen, appears to be wearing what look like leather pants. And, first of all, one can imagine wearing leather pants in this part of the world, at the height of summer. But on top of that, there were no such leather pants at the time in the 12th century. It just did not exist. People didn't wear what we think of as modern trousers in the Middle Ages. They wore something very different. Trousers, or a type of pant type garment, has been worn, for a long time. These sorts of articles of clothing did exist prior to the Middle Ages, in fact. You can see on your screen right now, this is an example of pants from 4th century. So the Germanic peoples encountered by the Romans in the ancient world, they may have been wearing pants or a type of trouser. The ancient Romans themselves originally did not wear pants. In fact, they viewed them as an article of barbarian clothing. This is something that the barbarians wore. The traditional Roman tunic and Roman toga, this was the noble type of clothing, a noble type of garment. As the Romans themselves moved into colder environments, they adopted these barbarian trousers for themselves. When we talk about the European Middle Ages, the High Middle Ages, the 11th to 12th centuries, the period of time that we're using for this upcoming film, men did not wear pants as we think of them today. Instead, they wore several garments that kind of took on the role of pants. They wore hose, for one thing. When we think of hose, we are often thinking today of like something that a woman would wear, kind of like these stockings, this kind of thing. But men in the Middle Ages, during this period, they did wear long hose. These were, a type of clothing that basically fulfilled the function of pants. They could be pulled up high. During like the 11th to 12th centuries, they often, went up beyond the knee. And these would be attached to another type of garment called brays or breeches. And this was, both an undergarment or in some cases, especially later on, an outer garment. This was kind of a type of short, maybe a loose-fitting pair of very short trousers. You could almost think of it like that. Basically, this was a type of clothing that would have covered the part of the anatomy that roughly modern boxer shorts or underwear shorts would cover. This approach to clothing does kind of make sense when we think of the context of the period, because tunics, surcoats, shirts, these various garments that were worn over the torso, these would extend well below the waist, often, as far down as the knees. These would provide a lot of coverage over the lower body in addition to the upper body. And so the brays, the breeches would be covered. And of course, in a lot of medieval artwork, when you're looking at depictions from the period, you can see people might think this person here is wearing pants underneath, his tunic there, but in fact, he's wearing hose, and then are attached, by a lace to the brays, the undergarment. And of course, this makes sense because we're talking about a period of time before you have elastic, form-fitting type socks or something like this. It's not like you just pull the hose up and they just attach. They have to be held up. Lacing and this kind of thing, like a lace or a tie of some sort, this was common in medieval clothing. Buttons were not used yet at this point. So what you were doing was, if you were attaching a part of your clothing, it was going to be done with a lace. Shirts had laces on them. Sleeves had laces on them. So you would lace up your sleeves. Now this basic formula of the hose and then the brays and the breeches, this went for peasants as well as the nobility. Both were wearing this type of arrangement of clothing. And there was a practicality to it. The whole point of the hose was to keep you warm. This is something to cover the legs, keep the legs nice and warm, but they could be removed. And, for example, for agricultural workers, we do have depictions of men just kind of wearing the brays. And this could be worn on its own without the hose. You would be a lot cooler if it's a very hot work day and you're working outdoors, you're working in the field. You could just be wearing the brays. And this would, be a very good type of clothing to wear, for labor, for manual labor. Now, right here we have a depiction of an agricultural worker from this period. You can see it's a hot day. He has stripped off his tunic to, allow himself to be cooler while he's working. The breeches he is wearing are not shorter; they are longer. Very loose-fitting garment that would have helped, him remain cool. And you can see here the breeches are loose enough he can pull the legs up and tie them up so that they kind of stay out of his way and help keep him cooler as he's working. So medieval clothing was oriented toward functionality, just as clothing is for us today. Of course, fashion was an important consideration, and fashion was a consideration for peasants as well. So this sort of arrangement of the clothing, this also came into play with military garb. So if you're a knight, you are not wearing like leather pants or something underneath your chainmail suit. You are wearing brays underneath, your clothing. This is your undergarment. And underneath that, you've got your hose on. And then if you're putting on your chainmail shirt over this, your hauberk, you also may be wearing chainmail hose. This was another type of armor piece that was worn in the 11th, 12th centuries. You can pull up these chainmail hose. They will attach up at your waist. And then you'll have your mail shirt. Your hauberk will hang down over this, so you've got a lot of armor there. You've got a lot of protection. The bottom half of your hauberk is covering you up to your thighs. This would probably be split down the side to make it easier to ride. And then you've got your mail hose, so this is going to protect your legs, from being struck by a weapon or something like this. Now, what happened over time with men's fashion in the Middle Ages is, as you get into the late Middle Ages and closer to the Renaissance, the style becomes more toward having closer fitting, tighter fitting hose, tighter fitting leg coverings, and also shorter tunics, so you're showing more of the leg increasingly. This is where we see these depictions that people think, oh, okay, these guys are wearing tights. What's actually happening is the brays, the breeches are becoming shorter. The hose are becoming, more form-fitting, more fashionable to show more of the hose. And over time, you get this kind of look where you've got the hose are almost right up to the thigh, and then you've got kind of almost these baggy breeches or brays, these short-looking things, almost this like puffy-looking short type thing. And eventually, all of this just becomes one garment. It just becomes pants. But the codpiece, of course, is a descendant of the medieval fly, which was just kind of like, similar to the fly today. On your brays, you would have like a flap right there that would tie, that would serve the same function as a fly on modern day trousers. This video is sponsored by ChristianChannel.com, an awesome new streaming service. You can find the link down below. If you sign up using the promo code KNIGHTS, you get 10% off, and you support my film project. Also, if you have Instagram, please follow Real Crusades History on Instagram. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Clothing in the Middle Ages is a very interesting topic. Of course, something you're going to think about when you're making a film, when you're making a movie about the Crusades, or any medieval topic for that matter. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you soon.